My name is Andrea, and what I am about to share with you is not just a story. It is the truth. A truth that altered the course of my life forever. I never spent much time thinking about what comes after this life, about the unseen forces at work, or about the mysteries that lay just beyond the reach of human understanding. I was like everyone else, moving through my days, following a routine, living in a world that felt predictable and safe, until one ordinary morning turned into something I could have never imagined. It began like any other day. I woke up to the soft hum of the world stirring outside my window. The golden light of the early morning sun stretched across my bedroom walls, filling the space with warmth. I stretched my arms, inhaling deeply, savoring the quiet stillness before the day demanded my attention. The scent of freshly brewed coffee soon filled the air, comforting and familiar. It was a ritual I never missed, sitting by the window, cup in hand, watching the world wake up. There was something peaceful about those quiet moments before the rush of the day. The distant sounds of cars passing, birds singing, the occasional bark of a dog. It was the same as always. And yet, something felt different. I couldn't explain it, but a weight settled in my chest. A feeling, not fear, not anxiety, but an unshakable sense that something was coming. It was as if the air itself carried a whisper, a silent warning pressing against my soul. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was nothing, just another morning, just another day. I had emails to answer, errands to run, work to do. So I pushed the feeling aside, focusing on the familiar rhythm of life. Yet, no matter how much I distracted myself, the uneasiness remained, lingering beneath the surface like a shadow. By noon, I was outside, walking towards my car. The sun was bright, the sky a perfect shade of blue, and the world bustled around me, alive and unaware of the storm building inside me. The feeling had grown stronger, heavier, like invisible hands pressing against my chest. But I still ignored it, brushing it off as exhaustion or stress. Then, in an instant, everything changed. A sharp, searing pain shot through my chest, stealing my breath. It felt like fire spreading through my body, radiating from my heart outward. My vision blurred, my knees buckled, and the world around me tilted. I reached out, desperate to steady myself, but my body no longer obeyed me. I heard my own breath, ragged, uneven, felt my heartbeat hammering wildly against my ribs. The edges of my sight darkened, voices around me became distant, hollow. Somewhere, someone called my name. Then, silence. I was floating. One moment, I was falling to the ground, and the next, I was hovering above it, weightless, detached. Below me, my own body lay motionless on the pavement. A crowd had formed, strangers rushing to help, someone dialing for an ambulance. I could see it all, but I felt nothing. No pain, no panic. Only peace. How was this possible? How could I be looking at myself, at my own lifeless body, while I was still aware, still thinking? I should have been terrified, but I wasn't. It was as if I had stepped beyond fear, beyond the physical, into something greater than myself. I know how impossible this must sound, but I promise you, every word I am saying is true. And if you've ever wondered about life beyond this world, if you've ever felt something deep inside telling you that there is more, then I want to invite you into this journey with me. Join this community, subscribe, and walk this path with us. Because what I am about to share may change everything you thought you knew. As I remained suspended between two worlds, something warm and golden began to surround me, pulling me away from the chaos below and into something beyond my understanding. I floated above my body, watching as the world continued without me. It was a strange and surreal sight. Paramedics kneeling beside me, their hands moving with urgency as they attempted to revive me. I could hear their muffled voices, the distant sound of sirens growing louder, the concerned murmurs of bystanders, and yet I felt none of it. No fear, no pain, no attachment to the body that had once been mine. Instead, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace, a peace unlike anything I had ever known. It wrapped around me like the warm embrace of a long-lost friend, soothing every worry, every doubt I had ever carried in my heart. I should have been afraid. I should have been desperate to return, to fight for my life. But in that moment, as I hovered between two worlds, I felt something else entirely: freedom. A golden light began to surround me, soft yet powerful, pulsing with a warmth that felt alive. It wasn't just light, it was love. A love so profound, so complete, that it filled every part of my being. I knew, without being told, that I was being drawn into something beyond human comprehension. The world I had always known began to fade, its colors dimming, its sounds dissolving into silence. The pull of the golden light was irresistible. It called to me, not with words, but with a deep knowing that resonated within my soul. I wasn't afraid. I was ready. As I moved toward it, I became aware of something else. Whispers. They were soft, almost like a melody carried on the wind. They weren't words in any language I had ever known, yet I understood them. They spoke of love, of peace, of home. Home. The thought struck me like a bolt of lightning. This place, this warm, golden presence, it felt more like home than anywhere I had ever been. It was as if I had always belonged here, as if a part of me had been waiting to return all along. The further I moved into the light, the more I felt my past slipping away. The worries, the fears, the pain, they no longer mattered. I was stepping into something greater, something pure, something eternal. And then, just as I was about to surrender completely to this beautiful presence, I felt it. A hand reaching for mine. It was unlike any touch I had ever known, filled with power yet impossibly gentle. I turned toward it, and that's when I saw him. Jesus. He stood before me, radiant and full of light, his eyes locking onto mine with a love so deep it brought tears to my soul. Every burden I had ever carried melted away in that instant. Every wound, every sorrow, every doubt, it all disappeared under the sheer magnitude of his presence. He smiled, and in that moment, I knew. I knew that everything I had ever longed for, every unanswered prayer, every ache in my heart had led me here. I don't know what you're going through in your life right now, but I do know this. You are not alone. You are loved beyond measure. And if you believe in the power of God's presence, I want to invite you to type Amen in the comments below. Let this be a moment of faith, a declaration that you are open to His blessings. And tell me where you are watching from. I want to pray over your city, to send light and love your way. As I stood in the presence of Jesus, everything else faded into insignificance. The world I had left behind, the body lying lifeless on the pavement, it all felt so distant. Because here, in this place, I knew I had finally found what I had been searching for all my life. I stood before him, my heart trembling, though not with fear. No, it was something else entirely. It was recognition. A deep, undeniable knowing that I was in the presence of the one I had always longed for, even when I didn't realize it. Jesus' light was unlike anything I had ever seen, not just surrounding him, but emanating from within, flowing outward in waves of warmth and love. Every inch of me was bathed in it, as if his very presence could cleanse the deepest wounds of my soul. I couldn't speak. I could barely think. All I could do was stand there, overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of his love. His eyes met mine, and in that instant, it was as if he had seen everything, every doubt, every regret, every moment of sorrow I had ever experienced. But there was no judgment, only understanding, only love. "You have been chosen," he said, his voice gentle yet filled with authority. Chosen. The word echoed through me, stirring something deep in my spirit. Chosen for what? Why me? Before I could ask, Jesus extended his hand. Without hesitation, I reached for it. The moment our hands touched, a flood of warmth coursed through me, and the golden light surrounding us intensified. My body, or whatever form I now had, felt weightless, as if I were no longer bound by the limits of flesh and bone. And then, we began to move. I wasn't walking, nor was I floating, but rather being drawn forward, deeper into the light. The golden glow pulsed around us, alive with something indescribable. It was then that I noticed them, figures standing in the distance, glowing with the same ethereal light. Some of them felt familiar, though I couldn't place their names or faces. There was no fear, no hesitation, only peace. The air was thick with something I had never experienced before. Pure love, pure acceptance. Every breath I took filled me with an unexplainable sense of homecoming, as if I had always belonged here. As we moved further, the atmosphere shifted. The light around us deepened, revealing something even more magnificent. It was as if we had entered another dimension entirely, a realm beyond anything my human mind could comprehend. The colors were unlike those of the earth, richer, more vibrant, pulsating with life. The very air seemed to sing, carrying melodies that resonated deep in my spirit. I turned to Jesus, my soul bursting with questions, but before I could speak, he gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "There is something you must see," he said. At that moment, the golden light around us shifted, revealing a vast landscape that stretched beyond what my eyes could perceive. It was beautiful, more beautiful than anything I had ever seen. Rolling hills bathed in soft, glowing light, rivers of liquid crystal that shimmered as they flowed, and towering structures that seemed to hum with divine energy. I realized then that we were no longer in a place bound by time. There was no past, no future, only the present moment, stretching infinitely in every direction. And yet, I knew that what I was seeing was only a glimpse, a fraction of something much greater. Jesus led me forward, and as we walked, images began to appear around us, suspended in the air like living memories. They flickered and moved, each one telling a story. I saw glimpses of my own life, my childhood, moments of joy, moments of pain. I saw the times I had felt lost, abandoned, unworthy. But through it all, I also saw something else. I saw the moments I had been protected, even when I didn't realize it. I saw the unseen hands that had guided me, the divine whispers that had kept me from falling deeper into despair. Tears welled in my eyes. I had never been alone, not once. Jesus turned to me, his expression filled with both love and purpose. "You have always been loved," he said, "and now it is time for you to understand why you are here." I felt my heart pound in my chest, or whatever form I had now. The weight of his words settled over me, heavy yet filled with promise. I opened my mouth to respond, but before I could, the golden light around us swirled once more, revealing something even greater just beyond the horizon. The golden light around us shimmered, shifting like waves of energy that pulsed with life itself. Every step forward felt like peeling back the layers of a reality I had never known existed. I was no longer simply seeing. I was understanding, absorbing truths that were not spoken in words, but poured into my soul like living water. Jesus walked beside me, his presence radiating a warmth that was both comforting and commanding. I wanted to ask where we were going, what I was about to see, but before I could find the words, he stopped and turned toward me. His eyes, filled with a love so deep it overwhelmed me, locked onto mine. "There is something you must know," he said, his voice both gentle and firm. As he spoke, the air around us shifted again, and I felt my gaze being drawn downward, to my hands. They were glowing with a soft light, the very essence of this place flowing through me. And there, on the palms of my hands, stood the mark I had always had, though I had never paid much attention to it before. An M. I had noticed it countless times throughout my life, just a natural crease in my skin, nothing more than a coincidence. But here, under the presence of Jesus, it felt different. It pulsed with meaning, as though it had been waiting all along for this moment. Jesus reached out and gently traced the mark on my palm with his finger. A warmth spread through me, not just through my body, but through my very soul. "This mark," he said, "is not random." His voice carried a weight I couldn't describe, as if each word was infused with something greater than language itself. "It is a sign," he continued, "a reminder of your purpose, a calling that has been with you since before you were born." I felt my breath hitch. The air around us seemed to grow still, as if the very fabric of existence was listening. "You and many others carry this mark," Jesus explained. "It is a symbol of my presence within you, a seal of divine purpose placed upon those who are chosen to bring light into the world." My mind reeled. Had this always been there, waiting to be revealed to me? Had I lived my entire life unaware that I had been carrying a sign of something greater? I swallowed hard, trying to process the magnitude of what I was hearing. But why me? My voice was barely a whisper. Jesus smiled, and in that smile, I felt an ocean of reassurance. "Because you were created for a purpose, Andrea, just as many others were. Some will see this mark and recognize it, knowing deep in their spirit that they too have been called. Others will not yet understand, but they will in time. And it is your mission to awaken them." A shiver ran through me, though not of fear, of recognition. A deep, undeniable knowing that this was not just for me. This truth, this revelation, was meant for so many others who had spent their lives feeling lost, questioning their worth, never realizing they had been chosen all along. I don't know if you've ever felt that, like there was something more to you, something beyond the ordinary life you've been living. If you've ever wondered why you feel a pull toward something greater, this is for you too. And if you believe in the power of divine purpose, I invite you to type Amen in the comments below. Let this be a moment where you acknowledge that you are seen, that you are called. And tell me what city you're watching from. I want to pray over your life, your purpose, and your journey ahead. Jesus held my hands, and in that moment, I felt as if every doubt, every fear I had ever carried was dissolving in his light. The truth was clear now. This was never just about me. This was about something far greater. As I stared at the mark on my hands, realization washed over me like a tidal wave. This was only the beginning. The weight of Jesus' words settled into my spirit, like a seed planted in fertile ground. The mark on my hands was no accident. It was a sign, a calling, a reminder that I had been chosen for something far greater than I had ever imagined. But what did that truly mean? What was I meant to do? Jesus still held my hands, his touch filling me with warmth and reassurance. There was no fear in me, only a deep hunger to understand more. As if sensing my unspoken question, he spoke again. "There is more you must see." And with those words, everything around us changed. The golden light surrounding us swirled, shifting like rippling water. For a brief moment, I felt weightless, as if I were being lifted higher, drawn into something even greater. Then, the world around us came into focus again, but it was no longer just light. I found myself standing in what could only be described as another realm, another dimension beyond anything I had ever known. It was vast, stretching far beyond what my eyes could comprehend. The very air shimmered with a divine radiance, and the colors. Oh, the colors. They were richer, deeper, more alive than anything I had ever seen on Earth. I turned, taking in the breathtaking beauty around me. Rolling fields bathed in golden light stretched endlessly before me, their grass swaying as if moved by an unseen breath. A river, more brilliant than any jewel, flowed with waters so clear I could see eternity reflected in them. And above it all, the sky was alive, not just with light, but with something more, something that whispered of creation itself. Then, I saw them. Figures walking in the distance, their forms radiant, glowing with a light not of this world. Some moved gracefully, their presence exuding peace and wisdom beyond human comprehension. Others stood in quiet contemplation, their faces filled with a joy so pure it brought tears to my eyes. These were not ordinary souls. I knew it instinctively. These were those who had come before, those who had walked the path of faith, those who had fulfilled their divine purpose. Who are they? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Jesus smiled, his gaze following mine. These are those who embraced their calling, who walked in the light, who answered when I called their names. My breath caught in my throat. There were so many of them. Countless souls who had lived, struggled, fought battles both seen and unseen, and now stood in eternal glory. I saw faces that seemed familiar, as if I had known them before, though I could not place where or when. And then, as if guided by an unseen force, my eyes fell upon something else. A massive structure stood in the distance, shimmering with an otherworldly glow. It was not made of stone or metal, but of something purer, something infused with the very essence of heaven itself. It pulsed with divine energy, as if it were alive. Jesus gestured toward it. This is the place where truth is revealed. I felt a pull, a calling deep in my soul to step forward. My heart pounded, my spirit trembling with both anticipation and awe. I knew, whatever lay ahead, whatever truth awaited me inside that sacred place, it would change everything. And before I take you with me on this journey, I want to invite you to be part of something greater. If this message is speaking to your heart, if you feel the pull toward something deeper, subscribe and join our community. You are not alone in this. Together, we seek, we learn, and we walk this path of faith. With each step closer to the radiant structure, I felt the weight of my old life slipping away, and something new, something beyond anything I had ever known, was waiting for me just beyond those glowing doors. The structure before me pulsed with an energy unlike anything I had ever felt. It wasn't just a building, it was alive, radiating a presence that resonated deep within my soul. The very air around it hummed with something sacred, something eternal. As I approached, my steps felt lighter, as if the weight of my earthly existence was peeling away with every movement. Jesus walked beside me, his presence anchoring me in the overwhelming glory of this place. He did not rush me. He simply waited, allowing me to take in every detail, to absorb the significance of what I was about to experience. The doors, if they could even be called that, opened without touch, as if sensing our arrival. A warm light spilled out, wrapping around me like a gentle embrace, and I stepped forward, crossing the threshold into something beyond my understanding. Inside, the air was thick with peace, yet charged with power. It was neither silent nor loud. Rather, it carried a symphony of whispers, voices that were both ancient and familiar. I couldn't see where they came from, but I knew they had always been here, speaking truths that only now I was ready to hear. The walls, if they could be called walls, shimmered with movement, as if woven from light itself. And then, in an instant, they shifted, revealing images that felt both distant and deeply personal. I saw history unfold before my eyes, not just history as written in books, but the untold stories, the unseen hands that had shaped the world. I saw men and women throughout time, each of them bearing the same mark I had on my hands. Some were known, figures of faith who had stood boldly in the face of darkness, while others were nameless, hidden warriors whose quiet acts of love and sacrifice had rippled through eternity. Jesus turned to me, his gaze filled with knowing. You are part of something much greater than yourself. I watched as more images appeared, shifting like pages in a living book. Faces filled the space around us, some joyful, others weary, all of them marked with the same divine imprint. And then, I saw my own face. I gasped, stepping back. It was me, yet not the me I had always known. In this vision, I stood among them, my hands raised, my voice speaking words I couldn't yet understand. I saw lives being touched, hearts being changed, faith being ignited. Not by my power, but by the truth I carried. Tears welled in my eyes. What does this mean? I whispered. Jesus smiled, and in that smile was an eternity of love. It means you were never meant to walk in doubt. You were never meant to question your worth, your purpose. You, like them, have been chosen to carry the light. A sob escaped my lips. How many times had I questioned why I was here? How many nights had I wrestled with the feeling that I wasn't enough, that my life was small, insignificant? And yet, here, in this sacred place, the truth was undeniable. I had never been alone. I had never been forgotten. My life had meaning, and so did every struggle, every moment of pain, every unanswered question. I turned to Jesus, my soul trembling with gratitude. What am I supposed to do? His expression softened. You will know. As he spoke, the images around us shimmered and faded, dissolving back into the golden glow that filled the space. But the truth they had shown me did not fade. It had been etched into my very being. Jesus reached out, placing his hand over mine, and in that instant, a surge of warmth coursed through me. Not just warmth, power, a deep, undeniable knowing that I was exactly where I was meant to be. And somewhere deep within, I understood. This was only the beginning. A profound stillness settled over me as Jesus withdrew his hand. Though the glowing visions had faded, their imprint remained seared into my spirit. Every question I had carried in life, about my purpose, my struggles, my existence, now felt insignificant compared to the overwhelming truth that had just been revealed. I had been chosen, and I was not alone. But chosen for what? Jesus took a step forward, and as if responding to him, the very air around us shifted. The golden light swirled, and suddenly, we were no longer in the luminous structure, but standing upon what felt like solid ground, though it shimmered beneath our feet. Before us stretched a vast horizon, rolling fields bathed in celestial light. The sky was unlike anything I had ever seen, alive, shifting in colors that had no earthly names. And then, in the distance, I saw them. Countless souls stood together, facing toward us. They were bright, radiant, pulsing with the same divine energy that surrounded Jesus. Their faces were filled with peace, yet also with determination. Some I recognized from the visions I had seen, those who had carried the same mark, who had walked their paths of faith before me. Others were unknown to me, but deep within, I knew they were connected to me in ways beyond human understanding. I turned to Jesus, my heart pounding. Who are they? His voice was gentle, yet carried the weight of eternity. They are the ones who have accepted their calling, those who have stepped into the light and embraced their divine purpose. The words sent a tremor through me. And what about those who haven't? Jesus' expression was filled with a sorrow so deep, it nearly brought me to my knees. Many do not yet see. Many live unaware of the truth, burdened by the weight of this world, blinded by its distractions. But they too are called. They too bear the mark, waiting to awaken. I swallowed hard. Then what am I supposed to do? Jesus turned to me fully, his gaze piercing through every doubt I had ever carried. You must help them remember. A rush of emotion flooded me, fear, awe, a responsibility that I wasn't sure I was strong enough to bear. But how? My voice wavered. I'm just one person. You are never just one, Jesus said, reaching for my hand again. The moment his fingers touched mine, warmth spread through me, filling me with something far greater than myself. You are part of something far greater, and you will not do this alone. I looked again at the vast gathering before me, and suddenly, I understood. The weight I had carried all my life, the yearning for something more, the moments of inexplicable longing for purpose, had been leading me to this moment, to this mission. And if you are here, if you are listening, perhaps it is leading you too. If you have ever felt that pull in your heart, that unshakable feeling that you were meant for something more, I want you to know, you are not alone. There are others like you, waiting to awaken, waiting to step into the purpose that has been placed inside them since the beginning of time. Subscribe, join this community, and walk this journey with us. Because together, we are stepping into something far greater than ourselves. As Jesus held my hand, I felt it. Not just knowledge, but certainty. My life, my purpose, my very existence had been woven into something divine. And now, it was time to return. A stillness settled over me, unlike anything I had ever felt before. It was not the silence of emptiness, but the fullness of understanding. The golden light still surrounded us, wrapping me in warmth and peace. I had seen beyond the veil, had walked in a realm where time did not exist, and had stood in the presence of Jesus himself. And now, I had to go back. I felt it before he even spoke, the gentle pull, the quiet knowing that my time here was coming to an end. I turned to Jesus, my heart swelling with love and longing. I didn't want to leave. How could I return to the world I had known, knowing what I had just experienced? Jesus smiled, as if hearing the very thoughts stirring inside me. Andrea, your journey is not over. It is just beginning. Tears welled in my eyes. I don't know if I'm ready. You were ready before you were even born, he said, his voice filled with a love so deep it unraveled every last fear inside me. What you have seen, what you have learned, it was not given to you for yourself alone. You must share it. You must awaken others. There are so many who are searching, so many who feel lost. They need to know they are not forgotten. I nodded, swallowing past the lump in my throat. I knew he was right. Every piece of my life, every moment of pain, doubt, and longing had been leading to this. This was my purpose. Jesus reached out and placed his hand on my forehead. The warmth that radiated from his touch was unlike anything I had ever felt. Powerful yet tender, like a love too vast for words. I felt my spirit expand. My heart burst open with a clarity I had never known before. And then, a force, gentle yet firm, began pulling me backward. The golden light swirled around me, and the realm I had stood in started to blur. I reached out for Jesus, for the peace of his presence. But he only smiled, his voice echoing through me one last time. I am always with you. And then, I fell. The sensation was indescribable, like being drawn through time and space in an instant, weightless yet pulled by something unseen. A rushing sound filled my ears, and suddenly my eyes snapped open. I was back. The beeping of hospital machines surrounded me. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled my lungs. I blinked, my vision adjusting to the dim lighting of the room. I felt the weight of a hand gripping mine, and when I turned my head, I saw my mother's tear-streaked face. "Andrea," she whispered, her voice trembling, "you're back." I stared at her for a long moment, everything I had just experienced still pulsing inside me like a living fire. How could I even begin to explain it? How could I find the words to describe the indescribable? I squeezed her hand, a tear slipping down my cheek. "I was with him," I whispered. In the days that followed, I realized I could never go back to the life I had once lived. I had been given a mission. I had been given truth. And now, I had to share it. There are so many people walking through life, unaware of the divine calling placed upon them. They feel lost, unworthy, forgotten. But they are not. You are not. If you are hearing this, it is not by chance. You are here for a reason. You are being called into something greater. And if this story has spoken to your heart, I invite you to keep walking this journey with us. There is another video waiting for you, one that will reveal even more, one that will bring even greater understanding into your life. Just click on the video appearing on your screen and step into the next revelation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. May you walk in faith, in light, and in the love that has always surrounded you. Amen.